Assalamu alaikum. My dear students, Eid Mubarak. This is our first class after Eid vacation. We were in our third card, that is renal, biochemistry, body fluid, electrolytes and acid-base balance. Today I will discuss another important electrolyte, that is potassium. From electrolyte profile, we already know that though potassium is present both in extracellular fluid and in intracellular fluid, but it is the major cation of intracellular fluid or ICF. Now come about potassium homeostasis. We already know that homeostasis include four contents. They are number 1, body content of the electrolyte, number 2, distribution of electrolyte in the body fluid, number 3, how normal electrolyte balance is maintained through intake and output, and lastly number 4, how the electrolyte is regulated in maintaining normal balance in case of hypo or hyper condition. Extracellular potassium concentration normally is regulated precisely at about 4.2 milliequivalent per liter, seldom rising or falling more than plus minus 0.3 milliequivalent per liter. This precise control is necessary because many cell functions are very sensitive to changes in extracellular fluid potassium concentration. For instance, an increase in plasma potassium concentration only 3 to 4 milliequivalent per liter can cause cardiac arrhythmia, and higher concentration can lead to cardiac arrest or fibrillation. Now come the body potassium content. Total body potassium content is about 3000 to 4000 millimole in adult. This potassium is distributed in our body as follows. As we know that potassium is the major cation of ICF, so about 98% potassium is present in ICF, which is mostly present in skeletal muscle, and only 2% of potassium is present in ECF, among which only 0.4% is found in plasma. Now come about potassium balance. Daily intake of potassium is about 50 to 100 millimole per day through diet like fruits, meat, vegetables. Tomato, lemon, orange, grapes, banana and green coconut water are rich source of potassium. Daily output of potassium is about 50 to 100 millimole per day through urinary route about 90%, fecal route 5 to 10% and through sweat less than 5%. Among these three routes, urinary route is the major route for potassium excretion from the body. So, urinary potassium excretion represents the dietary intake of potassium. Control of potassium distribution between the extracellular and intracellular compartments plays an important role in potassium homeostasis. Because more than 98% of the total body potassium is contained in the cells, that means in the ICF, they can serve as an overflow site for excess extracellular fluid potassium during hyperkalemia or as a source of potassium during hypokalemia. Hyperkalemia means potassium level in the plasma more than their normal range, and hypokalemia means potassium level in plasma less than their normal range. Thus, redistribution of potassium between the extracellular and intercellular fluid compartments provides a first line of defense against changes in extracellular fluid potassium concentration. Now come about regulation of potassium balance. There is two-term regulation. One is short-term regulation, another is long-term regulation. Short-term regulation is also called internal potassium balance, and it is done by transmembrane potassium flux. And long-term regulation, also called external potassium balance, done by kidney and related to renal potassium excretion or retention and its regulation. Now come about short-term regulation. In case of potassium overload, potassium immediately moves into the cell, also termed as potassium influx. I repeat, in case of potassium overload, potassium immediately moves into the cell, that means in the ICF, and it is termed as potassium influx. And in case of potassium deficit, potassium immediately comes out of the cell, also termed as potassium efflux. Here cell means intracellular fluid and comes out of the cell means potassium comes out from ICF to ECF when there is potassium deficit in ECF, and it is also called potassium efflux. This influx and efflux of potassium keep serum potassium concentration normal and thereby to maintain optimum cardiovascular and neuromuscular functions. Now come the factors that shift potassium into the cell, that means into the ICF, also termed as influx of potassium. Factors are insulin, aldosterone, beta-adrenergic stimulation, alkalosis. The net effect in plasma or ECF is hypokalemia. Now come the factors that shift potassium out of the cell, also called efflux of potassium. Factors are insulin deficiency state like diabetes mellitus, aldosterone deficiency, beta-adrenergic blockade, acidosis, cell lysis, increased intracellular fluid osmolarity, and strenuous exercise. As a result, in plasma, the effect is hyperkalemia. Now come about long-term regulation of potassium. Renal potassium excretion is determined by the sum of three processes. Number 1, the rate of potassium filtration, and it is equivalent to glomerular filtration rate multiplied by plasma potassium concentration. Number 3, the rate of potassium reabsorption by the renal tubules. And number 3, the rate of potassium secretion by the renal tubules. Now come about potassium filtration. The normal rate of potassium filtration by the glomerular capillaries is about 756 milliequivalent per day. Here, glomerular filtration rate 180 liter per day multiplied by plasma potassium concentration 4.2 milliequivalent per liter. This rate of filtration is relatively constant in healthy persons because of the auto-regulatory mechanism for GFR. Now come about potassium reabsorption by the renal tubules. About 65% of the filtered potassium is reabsorbed in the proximal tubule, and the remaining 25 to 30% of the filtered potassium is reabsorbed in the loop of Henle. Now come about the potassium secretion by the renal tubules. Daily variation in potassium excretion are caused mainly by changes in potassium secretion in distal and collecting tubules. In these tubular segments, potassium can at times be reabsorbed or at times be secreted, depending on the needs of the body. With high potassium intake, the required extra excretion of potassium is achieved almost entirely by increasing secretion of potassium into the distal and collecting tubules. When potassium intake is low, the secretion rate of potassium in the distal and collecting tubules decreases, causing a reduction in urinary potassium excretion. Renal response starts late and takes time to be completed, but body cannot tolerate hyperkalemic or hypokalemic assault even for a short period because of their high probability to cause cardiac arrest. That is why in potassium imbalance, body exercise the transmembrane potassium flux as a quick measure to keep the serum potassium within normal before the renal response starts to calm the situation. And this is a very important Viva question for your exam. Why short-term regulation is more important than in long-term regulation in potassium homeostasis. Now come about the hormonal regulation of plasma potassium concentration. In short-term regulation, it is done by the hormone insulin, aldosterone and catecholamines by tuning transmembrane potassium flux. In hyperkalemia, it stimulates the release of insulin, aldosterone and catecholamines. All these hormones quickly cause potassium influx into the cells to keep the serum potassium concentration within tolerable lengths to allow optimum cardiovascular and neuromuscular function. Opposite effect occurs in case of hypokalemic condition. In hypokalemia, inhibits the release of insulin and aldosterone. As a result, potassium influx into the cell is inhibited to allow quick efflux of potassium from the cells. This keeps the serum potassium concentration within tolerable range to allow optimum cardiovascular and neuromuscular function. Now come about the hormonal control of long-term regulation. It is done by aldosterone by regulating renal potassium excretion or retention. As renal response starts late and takes time to be completed, so in hyperkalemia, aldosterone secretion is stimulated to increase renal potassium excretion. And in hypokalemia, there is reduction of renal potassium excretion due to suppression of aldosterone secretion. This gradually brings the serum potassium concentration back to normal. These are all about hormonal control of potassium regulation. Thank you all.